PSYCHO-PICTOGRAPhy by Vernon, the new way to use the miracle power of your mind. Chapter 13, how to put more life and love into your living. Think of happiness as a state of inner liberty. That is exactly what it is. It is never anything else. It will help if you forget the word happiness altogether. Substitute the term inner liberty. It works favourably upon your thinking habits. It connects inner liberty with the genuine meaning of happiness, and that puts you on the right track. It is not excitement or a feeling of sensation. Excitement always has an opposite. Sooner or later, the pendulum swings back to boredom or depression. Excitement depends upon an emotional attachment to something, perhaps a new home or a compliment. Inwardly, you may attach yourself to a daydream or a hope of getting rich. But these excitements have no stability. They wear off. So you are kept in a nervous search for more excitement, which exhausts you. But when you find inner liberty, you are free from anxious dependence upon contrived thrills. Then you are happy. You are happy whether or not you get the new home or whether or not your daydream comes true. Personal progress can be likened to a railroad train that stops periodically to drop some passengers and to pick up new ones. We must regularly drop our false ideas while picking up new concepts. Drop the notion that you must fight life. Pick up the truth that the war is over. Drop the myth that past mistakes have a hold on you today. Pick up the fact that every new day is new. How to mine the diamonds of happiness. No subject of human interest is more talked about and less understood than that of happiness. People want to know, does happiness really exist? Why haven't I found it? What obstacles stand in my way? Why is the search so confusing? How can I attain happiness? I will give you an avenue of approach that leads to inner quietness. You must, however, persist in your effort to understand all that is presented. You must not resist something simply because it seems contrary to your present ideas. Please explore with me with a receptive state of mind. That is how to understand the truth about happiness. The discovery of a noted diamond field supplies a good illustration for our point. A South African adventurer was convinced that diamonds could be found in a certain section of the countryside, but it was a vast area. Its physical features included a thick forest, a high plateau, a prairie, grassy plains, and remote valleys. At first, it seemed like an impossible task. There were just too many places to explore. But his intelligent reasoning came up with a simple and effective program. He eliminated all areas where diamonds could not be found. For instance, he knew that certain valleys did not meet the test of probabilities. So by knowing where diamonds were not, he was left with the single area where they were. The diamonds were easily located at the entrance of a valley. The truth about that diamond field parallels the truth about happiness. Just because those diamonds were already there, ready for the persistent explorer, so is your happiness already within you, ready for your discovery. Do not try to find happiness. It is the wrong approach. Here is where practically everyone makes their big mistake. Rather, eliminate those areas where happiness cannot be found and deep down within himself every man knows where it cannot be found. Peace cannot be located by anyone who insists that his illusions are realities, nor can it be located by the person who hides his despair behind frantic activities. It is never found by the man who believes merely what he wants to believe. By eliminating these worthless areas, the diamonds of happiness are finally found. Using your true self to gain beauty and contentment. I want to tell you of something of utmost importance to every department of your daily life. It can charge you with fresh energy, develop your mental forces, and make you happy. However, before I tell you about it, I want you to place yourself into an open frame of mind, to be freely receptive to the message. After all, the manner in which we listen to something has everything to do with results. By losing ourselves in the beauty of a symphony, it becomes a part of us. That is what you should do with this message. Permit it to become a part of your innermost being. In an attitude of attentive receptivity, then, I want to give you some words of enormous encouragement. Failure is absolutely impossible to the man or woman who sincerely and persistently searches for his abundantly wealthy, true self. Please reflect upon this for a moment before reading on. The patiently persistent person eventually makes a delightful discovery. He finds that everything that happens to him can be used for self-advancement. How can this be? Because every event, happy or sad, supplies an opportunity for putting the true self to the test, letting it prove itself. It is always our reaction to an event that counts, not the event itself. You can learn to always react correctly, dynamically, cheerfully. How the veil of misunderstanding bursts apart before the man who sees this. Here is how Dr. Rainer C. Johnson expresses the same bright truth. Each circumstance and event, tragic or happy, is attracted to us by what we have been and are, and in itself offers to us, by a right reaction to it, the opportunity of spiritual development. The truth that frees us into health and happiness might be likened to a beautiful woman with a dozen ardent suitors. She asks, "Do you love me above all else, or are you merely seeking a new thrill? Or will you be faithful to me in spite of temptations? Or do you want me for myself, or merely to prove how persuasive you are?" The man who gives the right answers will hear the truth respond. She never fails the man who pursues her with ardent sincerity and affection. When he places her before all else, she willingly comes to him. How to predict your future fortune. What brightness would illuminate your day if you knew that your future holds good fortune? It would light up your face and add spring to your step. I assure you that this brightness can be yours. Fear of future misfortune lurks in a corner of the mind of man, draining body and spirit, but it need not be so. You can accurately predict future fortune for yourself and make it come true. Here are a few examples which give details on how you can become a prophet of prosperity. I feel that future circumstances may be too much for me. You create your own future circumstances. Change yourself today, and tomorrow's circumstances will be what you want. I don't understand the need for self-transformation. Trying to enrich tomorrow without first enriching yourself is like trying to hit a target with an empty rifle. Your true self is your ammunition. How do I know that these ideas about self-change are really accurate? Test them. One way is to see that you repeat the same unhappy experiences day after day because you don't change yourself. What kind of friends will I have in the future? Those on your own psychological level. Like attracts like. If you want loftier friends, raise your level of being. Does this inner alteration affect material things, like my business and finances? It affects everything. If you change positions to face east instead of west, you see and react differently to everything out there. Does the law of cause and effect enter into our future? Absolutely. Do something today and you get a result tomorrow. How can I start changing myself and forthcoming days? Work patiently with the principles of psycho-pictography. They ensure your future fortune. How to know always what's best for you. The question came. I realize that happiness depends largely upon the daily decisions we make, but I find it hard to decide what is good for me. I don't know how to serve my best interests. Is there some simple rule I can follow? There is a very simple and extremely practical rule. If you will apply it to everything that you do and feel and think, you will more and more see what is best for you, and that results in a richer life. The rule is, if it really contributes to your best interest, it is right. The other side of the same rule is, if it hinders your self-development, it is wrong. Get the habit of mentally sorting things out as they come along. In Washington's fruit factories, the apples are carried down an assembly line to be sorted according to quality. Think of your day's events in that way. Stand in the assembly line to check and choose. It is perfectly within your power to select the right and reject the wrong. Ask yourself, is this way of thinking a benefit or a harm? And is this action a help or a hindrance to my overall self-development? This sorting process builds a clear awareness of what your best interests really are. You can easily tell which thoughts and actions are profitable and which are a loss. It is a richly rewarding process. This process of choosing in favor of yourself. Your physical well-being is certain to improve as you apply this principle. Say, for example, that you catch negative imaginations running through your mind. You can wisely reason like this. Negative imaginations are harmful in every way. They drain my strength, make me nervous, they disturb my sleep and hinder happiness and zest. Why should I permit these harmful thoughts to run loose in my mind? I shouldn't. I have power to refuse them. That is exactly what I do right now. Can you think of anything more healthy than choosing in favor of yourself? How to know you're getting somewhere in life. One of the most frequently asked questions from those who want to get somewhere with their lives is this: how can I get what I want? This is an essential question. The how to do it is of paramount importance to your attainment. If the method is right, results will be right. We find gold by searching the earth. We find beauty by searching the sky. We must look in the right places to find whatever we want. Anyone can learn to look in the right places. I want to give you a workable method for achieving your aims, whatever they may be. It consists of not doing what you usually do. Instead of doing something, you stop doing something. When you cease a wrong action, you make way for a workable one. Work with these examples. Stop trying to be happy. Try to understand the causes of unhappiness. Stop thinking you must change conditions before you change yourself. Change yourself and you will naturally change your conditions. Stop despairing over what you cannot do at present. Wholeheartedly do whatever you can at present. Stop feeling that life is pointless. Use the principles of truth to discover the point of life. Stop falling victim to negative emotions. Realize that they have absolutely no power over you. Stop anxiously fighting all the complications in your life. Simplify your affairs. Stop feeling useless guilt. Try to discover the reasons for a false sense of guilt. Stop being so concerned with social popularity. Work at self-acceptance. Stop your frantic search for answers. Be quietly receptive to your true self, which knows the right answers. Thomas Jefferson said, "It is better to have no ideas than false ones." Stop employing unworkable ideas and methods. Leave a vacuum. Watch it fill with bright ideas. Suppose you were told about a fabulously rich city, lost for centuries in the jungles of some remote region of the world. Further suppose that you wanted to find it. You wouldn't frantically rush out the front door and head toward it. No, you would understand that you must put first things first. You would collect maps, study the region, prepare equipment. Having put first things first, you guarantee your success. We must put first things first in our search for happiness. The first thing is to understand what it is all about, to separate fact from myth. One of our first understandings is that happiness appears when the inner self is in harmony with external realities. We start by changing our inner attitudes and beliefs, not by trying to alter outer conditions. A man's chief problem is his persistently wrong assumption that happiness comes from changing his exterior conditions. As if we change anything in ourselves merely by putting on another coat. We mistakenly think that if this circumstance or that person would change, we would be different. But we wouldn't. It never really occurs to us that we have followed this false course over the years, and it never leads anywhere. We are constantly surprised that we get nowhere, yet we keep running. When we possess inner harmony, it is the very same thing as external harmony. What a great change takes place in a man's life when he sees this as a practical truth. It really doesn't make any difference whether other people appreciate us or not. But in our self-centered attitudes, we think that it does, and so we are unhappy. We really have no problem when some plan of ours doesn't turn out as we wanted. The problem arises only when we identify ourselves as victims of injustice. Whenever some unexpected event bothers you, tell yourself, it makes a difference only if I think it does, and I don't think it does. This is not helpless submission. It is understanding and genuine happiness. How to fill each day with delightful surprises. As you persistently work with mental pictures, you meet many delightful surprises along the way. This is a good place to introduce one of them. You remember in chapter 1, the mental picture about the man and his castle. We said that if he were to venture forward just a step or two, if he would dare to leave his old and familiar mental grounds, he would glimpse something new. Now, let's suppose that you decide to venture forward, that you are tired of the old ways and wish to discover your higher world. So you take your first steps forward. That is, you begin to abandon the false self with all its boring habits, rigid beliefs, and pointless actions. Now, you sight the corner of the castle. You catch a tiny glimpse of another way to think and act. Remember, you will be surprised at seeing it. It will be entirely different from what you had expected to see. Why is this? Because you stepped forward with a preconceived idea of what you would and should see. You might say that you had built a mental frame which you expected the picture to fit, but it doesn't. In no way does the preconceived idea match the new reality you encounter, and so you are surprised. But after the surprise comes the delight. You realize that here is something entirely new. It is not merely the reworking of the old idea. It is not an exchange of one worthless belief for another. It is not the dropping of an old coat for another worn one. It is an entirely new garment, one you had neither seen nor worn before. When you reach this stage where you were first surprised and then delighted, you know that you are on the right path at last. Yes, there may still be considerable confusion and doubt, but you have gained an inner light that can never be extinguished. It is there and you know it. Now your excitement grows. Having glimpsed that one tiny corner of the castle, you can hardly wait to see more of it. The question may arise, is this what you call a mystical experience? The answer is a definite yes, but something should be added. Any experience you have, whether you call it a mystical event, a growth in mental maturity, or deeper self-insight, is a genuine experience only if it changes your actions in everyday life. This is the whole purpose of such experiences. To put you more at ease with others and with yourself, to increase home harmony, to enable you to meet challenges calmly and constructively. The supreme test is this: if it is real, it is practical. If it changes things for the better, you can call it anything you like, but you are in contact with a new and vital force, your true self. Dr. Edwin A. Burt supplies an inspiring description of the insight of the true self. You find that instead of becoming weak, crushed, empty, as might have been expected, you gain a new strength and wholeness, which you realize is the only real strength and wholeness. You achieve a knowledge that is the only real knowledge, a freedom and happiness that alone truly deserves these names. By non-action, that is, by abandoning the aggressive self-assertion that alone seems effective action to others, you find that in reality you are accomplishing all the ends that are worth accomplishing. Then, when all this happens, we are in love. Then we are surprised to find that love is something entirely different from what we thought it was. It makes us see everything in a new way. It enables us to be inwardly peaceful whenever we are unjustly attacked by others. It takes away the hounding desires that formerly kept us anxious and frustrated. Augustine, the religious wise man, once supplied a famous answer to the problems of life, saying, "Love, and do what you like." If we really love, we can do what we like, for then we will harm neither others nor ourselves. Genuine love can never do harm in any way. What is love? Love is first a state of being, and then an outer action. Love is first of all what you inwardly are, and secondly, what you do. It must come in this order, otherwise it is not love but something masquerading as love. To the degree that we are genuinely loving, to that same degree we are genuinely happy. Are you fighting dragons? I want to discuss with you a magnificent truth that runs like a golden thread through all the great religious and philosophical teachings. When firmly grasped, it delivers permanent happiness into your hands. It is the truth of non-resistance. Whenever we resist something, perhaps an unkind remark, a shocking event, or a depressing feeling, our very resistance indicates a belief in the power of that event to hurt us. Although it is really powerless, our mistaken belief in it induces despair. By not resisting, we dissolve the false belief and consequently the false power for harm. Think this through. When we no longer resist the event, we no longer believe in its false power. When we no longer believe in its false power, we no longer suffer. The suffering is in our acceptance of its false power, not in the event itself. There is really nothing to fear, therefore nothing to resist. No one can hurt you, no matter what they do to you. Nothing can upset you, regardless of what happens to you. It is not the outer action that brings unhappiness. It is the inner reaction that causes pain. Such a simple truth, when deeply understood, creates miraculous inner tranquility. No, we need not fight, we need not resist. We need only to understand. A man caught up in the illusion that anyone has power to hurt him is like a knight who believes in the myth of dreadful dragons. Believing in them, the knight enters the dark woods with drawn sword, expecting a battle. Every shadow then becomes a fierce dragon that he must slay. Then, as the light dawns, he sees that it was his acceptance of the myth that made him fight so anxiously and so unnecessarily. Understanding this, he lowers his sword and rides peacefully onward. Take a man battling for a satisfying purpose in life. For a while he struggles for power or popularity. When the reaction of futility comes from such a battle, as it always does, he falls into despondency. Next, he seeks a purpose by getting involved in a variety of social, religious, or money-making activities. But he is battling for nothing, for involvement in any exterior activity sooner or later ends with a terrifying sense of futility. Once that man ceases to fight for a purpose, as he becomes quiet, he finds the genuine purpose of life, which is the inward experiencing of the truth itself. Then and then only will his outward activities make sense. And then, whatever they may be, rich or poor, famous or unknown, he has no anxiety toward them whatever. Having the truth, he has all things. Now you can use what the great teachers knew and used. You must not take this as an airy philosophy having nothing to do with everyday living. It is the only thing that gives real meaning to everyday existence. A man once said to me, "Your ideas are very appealing, but I wish I could see their practical application." I told him, Ask yourself whether you are now leading a practical life. Is it practical to be afraid at every corner? If you are ruthlessly honest, you will see how impractical a life you now lead. The alternative is before you. Take it. I know very well the difficulty of starting your program of non-resistance. I know how the mind's entrenched habits and ego defences will scream in protest. But a man need only see that his peace is at stake. Then he will choose to ally himself with this liberating principle. You can start this very moment. You can begin clearing the woods of illusionary dragons with the calm intention, from this moment on, I withdraw all false beliefs that this situation has power to harm me, because I understand that resistance implies belief. I no longer resist. Why should I resist a non-existent dragon? In his classic book, Cosmic Consciousness, Dr. Richard Maurice Buck points out that all great spiritual giants of history possessed a common characteristic. They understood the friendliness of the universe. From their lofty level of consciousness, they saw nothing to fight, only an illusion to see through. Among these enlightened individuals were Christ, Buddha, Socrates, Benedict Spinoza, Walt Whitman, Alfred Tennyson. Watch the energy with which your world changes before your eyes as you cease to resist. To whom does this energy come? This energy does not descend into individual life on any other condition than entire possession. It comes to the lowly and simple. It comes to whomsoever will put off what is foreign and proud. It comes as insight. It comes as serenity and grandeur. When we see those whom it inhabits, we are apprised of new degrees of greatness. From that inspiration, the man comes back with a changed tone. Emerson, the Oversoul. A seed changes miraculously into a colourful rose because it offers no resistance to higher powers. It gladly surrenders to the warm earth and cheery sunshine and grows as intended. And so can we surrender the false self to higher powers and grow as intended. Resist not. Have the courage and the wisdom not to resist. You will find yourself above the world of strife. This is exactly where you will be, even if you do not presently see how it can be so. Try it, then you will see. For your brighter days. 1. Think of happiness as a state of inner liberty. 2. Happiness comes easily and naturally as we drop our false concepts about life. 3. Remember the mental picture of the beautiful woman. It contains a rich lesson. 4. By working with the principles of psycho-pictography, you learn to predict your future fortunes. 5. Right action consists in choosing in favour of your true interests. 6. Stop self-defeating actions. Then right actions are revealed to you. 7. The first step toward greater happiness is to investigate happiness itself. 8. Love and happiness go hand in hand. 9. Practice non-resistance. Nothing will do more for you. 10. You ascend as intended into loftier living as you become receptive to higher powers.